Okay, sir.
That E stands for generic type. That E can be anything. It can be customer, it can be product, it can be invoice, it can be anything. It can be string, it can be integer, it can be anything. So this tree set is capable of, it's a generic type. याद है मैंने बताया था generic type. So this tree set is the tree set of E. This E doesn't stand for extract, abstract, anything. This E stands for generic type. This E can be anything, right?
Okay, sir.
E can be anything. Correct. So we will talk about generic types also. Definitely, we will talk about that, and you will get a lot to learn while working on generic types as well. Perfect. So this is how it is. And has set was a different. Why did we use tree set? We just wanted to print the values when we retrieve the values. We wanted it to be in the order in the sorted order of ID, and that is the reason why we did this. Okay, we used tree set. Otherwise, has set is also the same data. So it's a kind of a hash-based data structure. Tree set is also a kind of a hash-based data structure. Okay. So we have discussed a lot about this. Now, I remember distinctly that we were supposed to actually talk about inheritance. We were supposed to talk about inheritance. So customer is a class that we have already created. It has got some properties, ID and name. Now we can create some classes that can inherit from customer class. So if I want to inherit a class, so what I'll do is that I'll create a new class out here. I'll say public class. And I hope you'll all remember that any class that does not inherit from anything, implicitly it is inherited from object. You remember?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? थोड़ा सा misnomer है ये Java में, but there is a class called object in Java. I mean, थोड़ा सा weird लगता है, but है ऐसे, and that is the supermost class of every class. Implicitly. So public class object. That's how they have named it. And there is a class called class in Java. There is a class called class in Java. We will talk about that later. Right? When time permits. We will when the right time comes, we will talk about the class. But then otherwise, object is the very, right at the top. And so can I make a statement once again that all the methods that are over here, hash code, equals, clone, toString, notify, all of these are the methods that will be eventually available in each and every class. Yes or no? Every class inherits from object. So if these are the features, if these are the methods of object, every class will have these methods.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, correct. So you see this in the main.
Sir, can you please repeat?
Yeah, so this is a thumb rule. This is a thumb rule. If you have a super class, ये मैंने last week भी बताया था कि if your father has got some attributes, you will definitely have those attributes. There is no running away from it. At least in Java. So if my father smoked, I will definitely smoke. I have no choice not to smoke. As per Java. In real life, it may be different. But as per Java, if there is something in the superclass, it will definitely be available in the subclass as well. It's just that it can be overridden. If my father smoked, 555, I may smoke Rothmans. Well, none of us smokes. Just an example. So I can override the behavior, but definitely the behavior will be there. General rule. So if object is the supermost class, and if these are the methods of the object class, each and every class implicitly inherits from object. So each and every class will eventually have all of these methods. Yes or no? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? Pretty simple stuff. Very simple. And if some class inherits from some other class, that inherits from some other class, but then some of the other class finally would inherit from objects. So what I mean to say is that if I create a new class over here called export customer, some customer that is, to those customers to whom we, customers who are not from India, they are my export customers. So I'll say extends. This is how you inherit in Java. Extends, I'll say custom. That's how. Okay. So this is inherited. So you will say that, okay, now export customer does not inherit from object. It does. It does inherit from object. Why? Export customer inherits from customer. And customer inherits from
Object.
object. So object is supermost class for sure. So all of the methods that are there in the object will definitely be available in customer, and hence will definitely be available in export customer also.
Yes, sir.
Right? Very simple. So if I say main out here, and if I say suppose export customer C is equal to new export customer, see this, I will definitely have C dot clone. Clone is a protected method, hence it is not available here. But otherwise, C dot toString, ये देखो toString है. I'll say C dot equals, देखो equals है. I'll say C dot weight, देखो weight है, weight है. I'll say C dot what was the other method? Hash code है. This is not the method that we have declared in the customer class, right? Neither in export customer nor in the customer, but it is definitely there in where? In the object class.
Object class.
Object class. Very good. It's there in the object class. Hence, it is available here also, right? It's available here as well. Okay. So I'll just do away with this. So this is how you inherit classes. One class can inherit from another. Very simple stuff. I'll go a bit fast on this. If I say public final class, if I say final, that means I cannot inherit now. That means this is a final class. It cannot have subclasses. Final is a keyword when used on the class, means what?
It's
It
the
cannot
last
be subclassed. It cannot be subclassed. I'm using past tense. It cannot be subclassed. Right? So I will just remove final from here now. And then if I say final, private final int ID, what does this mean? The value of this cannot change. Once assigned, the value will never change. That's what it means, final here. If I say final as a method here, so if I say public and I'll say final void and I'll say yaba daba do. Okay, this is the method. Yaba daba do. And if I say it's final, that means I cannot override it over here. If I say yaba daba do here, same method, if I try to see, it will not allow. See the message here. Cannot override yaba daba do in so and so customer. Overridden method is, what is the last word? Overridden method is
final.
final. You cannot
Final.
Yeah, you cannot override. So final has got different meaning when attached to a method. It has got a different meaning when attached to a class. It has got a different meaning when attached to an attribute in Java. So if I say final out here, the class cannot be subclassed. If I write final here, this method cannot be overridden.
Over it.
And if I put final over here, the value of that is final. You cannot make changes to it. Once assigned, you cannot make changes to it. Right? So I'll just do away with this method here. And now what is actually, how do you inherit and what do you do in case of inheritance? So please see this. What I'm going to do here is that I've got export customer. Why do we do inheritance? I repeat, why is it that we have inheritance in place? In what circumstances you will take a design decision, not my words. In what circumstances will you take a design decision to subclass a class? So when I say customer class is subclass, that means I have created a class that inherits from customer. And under what circumstances? So whenever you have generalization, specialization kind of a scenario. I will repeat 2 more times. Whenever you have, now again, this is very general. The way you inherit a class over here in Java is using extends. The way you would inherit a class in Python would be different. Right? So let me see if we have, okay, I think we did not. The other day we had created the class, which was Python. I mean, we did create a project which was a Python project, isn't it? But I did not push that project here. So idea projects, trainings, Java training. So we did not. So I'll do one thing very quickly. I'll say terminal and I'll say cd idea projects and cd trainings and I'll say nk dir. I'll say that was Java training. I'll say Python training. I'll say cd Python, and then here I'll say I will create Python 3 hyphen m. I'm creating a virtual environment. So once the virtual environment is created, uh, I'll say, yeah, that's it. So I'll just simply go to IntelliJ. I'll go to File and I'll say Open, and I'll open that folder. So here you are with Idea Projects, Trainings, Python training. I'll just open this. And now when I open this, this is supposed to be a Python project. And I will set, I'll click right mouse button in IntelliJ, open module settings. I strongly recommend that you guys start using IntelliJ. And if you can afford, the first thing, if you find that you have got some spare money, in your, and if you are saving, अभी सेव करके कर भी क्या लोगे, 1000-2000 सेव करके क्या ही कर लोगे, 1000-2000 सेव करके तो एक बाइक भी नहीं आती, घर और गाड़ी तो दूर की बात, क्या ही कर लोगे. Anyway, but if you've got good reason to save, it's fine. But then if you feel that, yes, I have this, you have this 1500 rupees, 1500 भी नहीं होगा, $15 कुछ है, या जो भी है, 1200-1300 रुपए, if you can somehow spend on IntelliJ, so buy the ultimate edition, 1 month ka. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to select Python from the disk, and I'll say existing environments, and I click here. I'll say projects, and then from the projects, Python training is the project, env is the, and then I say bin, and then I say, Python 3. Okay, a couple of our team members have confirmed to me that the way you use, यहाँ पे जैसे हम लोग source use करते हैं, and the way I say Python hyphen MB env here on Mac machine. And what it creates is a folder called bin folder within env, which has got Python 3. There it is not the bin folder, it is script folder.
Yes, sir.
Right? So the name of the folder is script over there.
Script.
So आपको bin नहीं मिलेगा, script folder मिलेगा. In that you will find the same thing. Okay, so I'll say
Yes.
okay, and I'll say okay, and I'll say apply, and then I say okay. So here you see I've got my. Now what I'm going to do here is that, see, in IntelliJ you've got an option. I can always click right mouse button, mark directory as excluded. So I will not see that directory unnecessarily. Why would I want to see that directory? So मुझे यहाँ से कुछ करना नहीं है. I will not be making any changes here at all. Okay, and then I will just simply, perhaps I will have, I will start creating my Python classes over here. So I will create a Python package. I'll create a Python package, and I will give the name of the package as learning or training, something like that. And then within that, I can start creating my Py classes. And I remember that we had created some. Here it is. You remember? We did ask Claude.ai to give us the code for the customer class. You remember this? So you see, I'll copy this over here and I say models. You remember? I'll say folder, or rather I'll say directory, and I'll say, no, within this itself, I'll say once again, I'll say a package, Python package, and I'll say models. Or else, I'll keep it simple. I'll say file and I'll say models.py. So this is my models.py, and in this I have copied and pasted here. So you see it has given me a customer class with some properties like, what are the properties it has given me? Name, email, age, total purchases and stuff. All right. So instead of this, I will have exactly the same thing, underscore ID. And what do we have here? In customer class, what do we have? ID and name, that's it. So here also I'll just simply say ID and name. So here I'll say ID, and here I'll say ID, and here I'll say name, and then here you are, I'll just close this, and here I'll say name, that's it. And I'll remove this. And so I've got property name, okay, it will return name. This is the setter property, fine. And then I'll say ID, and it will return to be the value of underscore ID. Perfect. And actually, you know what? The moment it, during the instantiation, this is the instantiation, this is the constructor. We have talked about the constructors last time, right? So this is the constructor. So we have got ID, and here also I'll say ID dot setter. And what I'm going to do here is that instance value, I'll say ID underscore ID dot, and I'll say uh, whatever is passed. Yeah, so value is passed as a parameter. And yes, here you are. Why is this giving me a warning?
Sir,
Uh,
underscore ID.
Sabash. Thank you. Sabash. Brilliant. And why is this the warning? A
Sir,
name to
underscore
function
ID.
declared match property accessor is created at the rate ID. ID. Okay, here also is giving me the error. Shows. Acha, acha. There is a built-in property called ID here in Python, so it's better that we avoid this. I say customer ID. Okay, so here also I'll say underscore customer ID, and here I'll say ID, customer ID. Okay, so यहाँ पे भी again still our argument name should be lowercase. Oh yes, sorry, it's not Java. Hello, it's not Java. Okay, so I'll say underscore customer ID, and then here also I will say property definition customer underscore ID is what you're gonna get, and I'll say underscore customer ID. And as far as name is concerned, I'll say customer underscore ID. Okay. Underscore customer. Okay, why is this giving me an error now? It says names of the function and decorator don't match. Property accessor is not created. Property accessor is not created. Why? Property accessor is created, right? Customer underscore ID. How it is supposed to be? Okay, sure. So I'll do one thing. Instead of wasting my time, wasting your time here, I'll say rewrite the customer class with two properties, customer underscore ID and name. Customer ID is fine, customer ID is fine. Setup बराबर तो है. The same thing that we did. Sure, no problem. So we'll just take this, we'll remove this, and we're going to put this. See, it did not give me any error now. Hoga kuch, kuch hoga that we might be missing. But then otherwise, this is how it is. So this is our same as what we have over here, customer class. Yes. So what was the point that we were discussing? Inheritance. So when do you inherit? Whenever. So here also, let me complete this exercise. Here I've got export customer, extends customer like this. But here in this case, what will I do? How will I inherit? Okay. I'll say create a simple class called export customer that inherits from customer. Here, I believe it's just in the bracket, you will have the name export customer, and in the bracket, you will get the name of the customer class. Here you are, say export customer, and in the bracket customer class. That's all. And then what it has done is that it has given some additional properties here, like for example, country and export code, which is really very nice. So these are the additional properties in the inherited class, which makes sense. So I'll just go back here, and in the same .py file, I will copy paste this. So I have two classes here. One is the customer class and the other is the export customer class. See, again, this is the constructor and this is the call to the constructor of the super class. Note my words, super, in brackets .init. This is the call to the constructor of the super class. So whenever I create an object of class export customer, it will automatically make a call to the constructor of the super class. Got it? So coming back here, this is how you inherit here. This is how you inherit here. Kya problem? No problem. See, why am I emphasizing on and why is it that I want you all? See, I have great expectations. I have loads of expectations, my dear friends, from our company, from our entire team. बहुत सारे expectations है मुझे. We will be able to make real good money and all of us will make money. Don't worry, I am the last person. मैं अपने family members को exploit नहीं करता. मैं अपने बच्चों को exploit नहीं करता. मैं अपनी बीवी को exploit नहीं करता. मैं अपने माँ बाप को exploit नहीं करता. बहन भाइयों को नहीं करता. तो मैं आप लोगों को क्या करूं? I don't take them for granted. So how will I take you all for granted? definitely you will see that, or in fact, people who are already working with us, they are witness to this, that whenever we have earned revenue out of their efforts, I have always made it a point to give them incentives. So point here is that I've got great hopes. The kind of team that we are building is unique, is unique. ये एक बार 3-4 programming languages, like working with TypeScript, with Node as the framework, working with Dart, and then Flutter will be the framework for mobile application, and then Python, and this we will be. I mean, your fundamentals will be so very strong. And then yes, we will create a niche on something. That's fine. Every one of you will have a niche. When you say niche, what do you mean by niche? NICHE. Niche मतलब कोई एक चीज में real expert. ठीक है. But then, picking up things will be like cakewalk for you. It will be like cakewalk for you, right? That's how it's going to be. अब ये देखो, for example, I'll show you. For big data, in big data world, there is a very, very extensively used, a framework called Spark, Apache Spark. बहुत यूज होता है. And we are very good at it. हम लोगों ने बहुत fantastic applications बनाए Spark यूज करके. I want to build a team on Spark. बहुत डिमांड, और इसकी बिलिंग भी हाई होती है. The billing is really very high and very good billing. अब यहाँ पे देखो, whenever if you work, you make so Spark आता है आपको, but Spark itself, there are backports available for Spark in all of these languages. ये देखो, documentation, developers. I'll go to the documentation, and then I'll go to API. Can you see the Scala, Java, Python, R?
Yes, sir.
So you can write I mean, so we may have a customer saying that we need Spark developers. Great. One would insist, we have selected Scala and हमारे application Scala में, so we want Spark developers with Scala. Someone else would say, no, we want Spark developers but with Java. And some other would say, we want Spark developers but with Python. हम बोले अरे नहीं हमारे को तो सिर्फ Python आता है, तो सिर्फ Scala, Spark, but with only Python. No, it doesn't make sense. So we will build. So अगर आपका fundamental strong है ना, you will be able to write Scala code just like that. It will be a matter of spending 2 days and you will pick up Scala. Scala is a programming language which is again a JVM based language. That means finally the bytecode that is generated from Java source code is Java bytecode only, and it runs in the JVM only, Java virtual machine. अब यहाँ पे जितने भी examples है, please see this. You will find most of those examples here. Okay, let me go to API docs. Okay, let me go to see for example which dot. See this? Python का भी example है, Spark का भी example है. See, almost all of those places you'll find Python also, Scala also. और यहाँ पे देखो Python का भी example है. This particular example makes sense. So Python भी है, Scala भी है, Java भी है. See, same चीज होगा. ये Python में होगा. स्काला में अगर आपको डिपेंडेंसी चाहिए और आपको सेटअप करना है तो ये होगा, और जावा में अगर करना है तो दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ कोड दैट यू विल एंड अप राइटिंग. नाउ वी मे कम अक्रॉस अ कस्टमर विल से हमको पाइथन स्काला अपाची स्पार्क डेवलपर्स चाहिए, या पाइथन चाहिए, या फिर जावा चाहिए. ठीक है. Okay, so that's the reason. Coming back here. So we have got this. Now, coming back to the same point. Why inheritance? When inheritance? Whenever you've got generalization, specialization kind of scenario. I repeat, whenever you have generalization, specialization related scenario. What do you mean by generalization? I have some general code to be written at a level, and then some specialized code will be written in the subclass. Okay, I will attempt to explain this matter to you step by step, using different statements. So let's take an example of customer itself. And in the customer class, suppose I have a method called, a business method called, I'll say public void generate credit balance. And suppose there is some logic in generating the credit balance over here. Listen, I hope I have undivided attention from everyone. Please confirm.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You must understand this in such a way that you all must be able to explain this to others. So generate
Yes.
credit balance, great, very nice. Generate credit balance is suppose the business method over here. Okay. That, and then there is some implementation here of generate credit balance. And then suppose there is yet another method here called public void print customer details. Okay. Here I write system.out.println and I'll say ID and I'll say plus ID like this. And here I'll say name. I'll say name. Okay. I could have written this dot name. And here also I could have written this dot name. What does this mean? This is the reference to the object on which this method will be called. THIS, this is in Java. SELF, self is in Python. A problem. Simple. Okay, one will say here it is THIS this, then it is SELF self. Okay, so this dot I. Okay, so okay, तो ये हो गया print customer details. Please go on mute mode, please. Anju, go on mute. Okay. Fine. So credit balance. अब credit balance का ना जो लॉजिक है उसमें थोड़ा डिफरेंस है. I mean एक पॉइंट है. वो पॉइंट क्या है? And suppose I also have something like this over here, private string, and I'll say customer type.
हाँ, नहीं तो बताओ चिपका रहता ना दीदी, सिर्फ प्लास्टिक से लगा रहता. अपन उसको फोन लगा देंगे तो चिपका
इसको
देंगे.
इसको फोन करके बोलो. She gets unmuted every now and then. Anju. No worries. Okay. It was good to hear. Okay, so generate credit balance. Now, there is something called customer type here. And the type of the customer can be any one of the two. It can be export customer. It can be a local customer. So there are, two things, two types of customers. It can be export customer. And I'll say E. E for what? Export customer. And I'll say L. Forget about that export customer subclass. Okay, forget about this from time being. मैं इसको delete ही कर देता हूँ so that there is no confusion. I have only the customer class. I have only the customer class. I repeat, I do not have any subclass at all. Let's restart with this. I just have customer class. Let's rewind. Forget about the export customer class. But I have a concept here. I've got a type of class called, I've got a type here called customer type. E means export customer and L means local customer. That means this customer belongs to India.
Yes, sir.
Now, the way the credit balance is calculated, suppose I have got a logic, I have got a business rule that those who are export customers, their credit balance would be say 100,000 USD, whereas the local customers, I'll keep the credit balances only as say 25,000 USD. And there is some other logic also. So what will I end up doing here in that case? I'll write if. I want undivided attention, friends, please. I'll say if. कोई भी ऐसे explain नहीं करेगा आपको, वो bookish knowledge देंगे आपको. A class inherits from this, extends the keyword use, you inherit, and then class and override. नहीं. This is how you design classes. See this. So I'll say if. I'll say customer type dot equals ignore case, or I'll say equals E. Then I'll write some logic here. Else, because the logic is different, else I'll write some other logic here. What this logic would be? Logic of calculating or generating the credit balance. अब जो भी है वो logic है, जो भी logic है, 3-4 लाइन का जो भी logic है, 4-5 लाइन का, whatever, वो यहाँ पे लिखेंगे. और ये यहां पर क्या होगा बताइए? Logic of calculating generating or generating the credit balance for those customers that are export customers. Yes,
Yes,
we are
sir.
all on the same page. और यहाँ पे क्या होगा? Those that are local customers.
Local customer.
Correct. एक सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन ये है कि will this still work or not? Technically speaking, will this work or not? ये execute, is Java giving me a compilation error? Is Java giving me a compilation error? No. Is Java complaining? No. And will this run? Yes, this will run like a charm. Absolutely. So if I'll write system.out.println generating credit balance for export customer, and here I'll say same thing here for local customer. I'm just writing system.out.println. Why? Because I'm not writing the entire logic, because this is not a real life application. I'm picking up examples, I am creating things, and I'm making up things in order to put a point across. So now when I say main, see, I've got a customer class here, right? I've got a customer class here. I created two customer classes, and I'll say c1.set customer type as E. And I'll say c2 dot set customer type as L. ये कर लिया हमने. Now if I have to put this here, simple, I'll write system.out.println, and I'll just simply I'll just simply say c1 dot generate credit balance, and I'll say c2 dot generate credit balance. अब आप बताइए c1 के लिए क्या एग्जीक्यूट होगा?
Sir, export customer.
Yes. Who is answering this? Who's this?
Sir, Mustafa.
Okay, good. Very nice. So you see this here, generating credit balance for export customer, whereas for C2 it is generating credit balance for local. तो चल रहा है ना?
Yes, sir.
चल रहा है ना? बिल्कुल चल रहा है. But there is a problem. There is a problem. Problem. Software लोग मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, 100 में से 90% of people write code that stinks. Out of 190 people write code that stinks. It smells. अच्छा, मैं अपने घर से नहीं ला रहा हूं ये सब terms. These are the actual terms that are used. See this sourcemaking.com. देखो code smells, यहाँ पे आपको term मिलेगा यहाँ पे. See this bad code smells. क्या बोल रहे हैं ये लोग? आपको refactoring सिखाने के पहले they are telling you bad code smells. मतलब गंदे कोड में से बदबू आती है. बोलने में सुनने में अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, but they fact है. It's better that you get it engraved in your mind. Now you have to decide, you want to become a developer that writes code that's going to stink, or you're going to write clean code, effective code that performs. Very importantly, code that is maintainable. Code that is, maintain ही कैसे करोगे जब समझ में नहीं आ रहा होगा? मेंटेन ही कैसे करोगे जब एक जगह चेंज करो तो 10 जगह फट रहा है? So bad code smells. So your code must not smell. Coming back here, this is bad code. Why is this bad code? Now this is an example which is a made up example. It's fine. But still, suppose I have got further bifurcations tomorrow. I have got not just export and local customers. Suppose I want to have credit balance based on whether the customer belongs to US region wise, Europe region, Africa and Middle East region. This is called EMEA, Africa and Middle East region, Asia Pacific region. These are all different regions in which people do business. US by itself is a big region. वहां पे बहुत काम मिलता है. वहां से तो US it's, so you बहुत सारी बहुत सारी, every company does that. They've got region wise, sales team, region wise. So I want to bifurcate not just based on export and local. And then if it is local customer, I just don't want it local. I'll say, okay, South India, North India, and so. Now, as I go on increasing the type of the customer, what will happen, my dear friends? Don't you think मुझे यहाँ पर आके change करना पड़ेगा?
Yes, sir.
है ना? अब मुझे else नहीं, L safe डालना पड़ेगा. Come on. Right? वो भी कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, मैं डालना equals I'll say L, तो ये चलेगा. फिर मुझे यहाँ पे एक और L safe डालना पड़ेगा. करेक्ट? फिर मुझे एक और L safe. तो जब भी एक नया टाइप का कस्टमर आएगा, if I introduce a new type of a customer, I will have to come back and add an else if over here. Now you will say, what's the big deal, Shakir? It's fine. I'll say problem is that you are making changes in the existing code, which has already been written and tested. It's the same function that you are making a change to. When you have got a pond of water, तालाब, आपके वहां तो बहुत तालाब है, बड़ा तालाब, छोटा तालाब समझो, इतना बड़ा नहीं, but a pond of water, and you take a stone and throw it in that water, you will see that there is a ripple effect throughout the water. देखा होगा आपने, आप देखो तो देखो, there is a ripple effect. That's how a change in the software, behaves more often than not, though it must not. A good software is the one in which you make one change in a particular place, it must not have a ripple effect over the entire software. Otherwise, you never know where it will break. So the mantra is your design of your code, the code that you design, the code. What is designing the code? Designing the code means identifying the right classes and distributing the right responsibilities to those classes. This class inherits from that class. This class implements that interface. This function written here, that function written there. That function will take so and so parameter. That function, will be overloaded. That will be over. All of these are design decisions that you take with respect to your code. So there are many principles of good design. And one of those principles is OCP, open closed principle. Repeat. Open
close principle.
closed principle.
Open close principle.
This code that we have written seriously violates that principle. It violates. ये वो principle को हम लोग break कर रहे हैं. We are violating the principle, open close principle. Why? What is open close principle? The class must, your entire software design must be such that it must be open for extension, closed for modification. I repeat, it must be open for extension, closed for modification. What does that mean? It must be open for extension. I must design the code in such a way that if tomorrow there are other types of customer, I must be able to introduce new types of customers. That is extension, extending your software. I must be able to introduce new types of the customer. Closed for modification means it must be closed for making changes in the existing code. सारा problem यही तो है ना. आप existing code को change करोगे तो problem है. So the design must be such that it must be open for extension, but closed for modification means it must not force you. The design must be such that it must not force you to make changes in the existing code, rather write new code. नया कोड लिखो. एक्सटेंड करना है ना आपको फीचर बढ़ाना है ना. You add more code. Why are you making changes in the existing code? The moment you make changes in the existing code, वो ripple effect वाला problem शुरू.
Yes, sir.
I remember it was the year 2000 and my experience was around 6 years. At that point in time, 5 years, 6 years. And I was in the process of, writing an ERP for Premier Auto Electric. And that was the time when I was learning object-oriented analysis and design. I was quite fond of these kind of subject matters right from, beginning. So, again, see, English is the foreign language for us. So बहुत बार हम लोग कुछ गलत पढ़ते कुछ है, समझते कुछ है, we read something, but then, we understand. So I used to read Generalization. I had purchased this book of Grady Booch, Booch, Object Oriented Analysis and Design. ये रहा Object Oriented Design. इसका मैंने बुक खरीदा था, ये वाला बुक. I till date I have this book in my on my bookshelf in Mumbai. I still have it. Object Analysis and Design. This is the book. अभी तो उसका ये pages भी yellow हो गया, the pages have turned yellow. So I had purchased this book, and then in that book it said generalization, and whatever I read that point, I thought generalization is generally everything, most of the things in one place, so that you have to make changes only in one place. So I remember I writing one function there called generate salaries, so calculate tax. Calculate tax was the name of the function. It used to take 8 parameters. Based on what parameters you pass, based on that, it used to calculate the tax. One single place, one single place in the entire application, 1500 lines of code. One function running into 1500 lines of code. It was such a big blunder. It was such a big blunder. If I see someone doing this in my team, I will kick on. Okay, so it is such a big blunder. 1500 lines of code. So when they used to tell me to make change, okay, software works, it works. Okay, fantastic. See, every software works fantastic on day one. The real test starts when it is in production, and when your business starts asking for changes. So they used to ask, change. They say, hey, Shakir, you want to make changes in how the purchase tax is calculated? This is the change in the business rule. I used to make that change, deploy. They used to call back again. Hey, Shakir, we did not want that change in sales tax calculation. We had asked to make changes in the purchase tax calculation. What does that mean? वो एक ही फंक्शन में इतना बड़ा कोड लिखा था, मैं एक जगह चेंज करता था, उसका एडवर्स इफेक्ट अदर पार्ट पे भी हो जाता था, बिकॉज सेम ही फंक्शन में सेम कोड, इफ एल्स एंड इफ डू व्हाइल स्विच केस दिस दैट, इतना बड़ा कोड, इफ एल्स एंड इफ एक जगह चेंज करो, पता चला unintentionally I end up making changes in such a way that the other part of it, sales tax also gets adversely affected. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So it's not advisable. So your classes must be, what is advisable? You must have fewer fatter classes or many simpler classes. What do you think?
Many simpler classes.
Excellent. Many simpler classes instead of fewer fatter classes. It will be easier for you to maintain. And then again, many simpler classes, it must again follow a principle. ये मैंने आपको एक principle बताया. It must follow a principle called SRP, Single Responsibility Principle. Repeat. Single
Responsibility.
Principle. Single Responsibility Principle. What it states that a class must change for one reason. And what is this? What does this state? It states that, मैं violets निकाल देता हूँ. यहाँ पे what is open close principle? Must be open for extension.
Close for modification.
Excellent. Extension and closed for modification. A class must change for one reason. That means it must not change for multiple reasons. That is the reason we create controller classes. Only and only when controller logic change, you change this. We create business service classes. Whenever business logic changes, you change this class. And then we create another class, which is data access object class. So whenever data logic changes, we make changes in the DO classes only. So we don't, so it must change for one reason. Not that one single class cannot have multiple methods, but all of those methods are kind of related to one single concept. They're tied up to one single concept. Right? अब यहाँ पे problem है. This will change if the customer is export customer. This will change if it is a local customer. This will change if I want to change, how the customers are handled, export, local, and all that stuff, I will have to make changes to the same class itself. Bad, very bad. So what I'll do instead is that, acha, what about this? This is the method that remains exactly the same, whether the customer is export or local or whatever, region wise or whatever, this will never change. So I'll say, okay, this is fine. This is generalization. Generalized behavior. Right? This is an example of, or this is, generalization. This is generalization. Generalization code, generalized code will come in the superclass. Now, what I'm going to do here is that, see this. I will, in order to make this compliant with, open close principle, I will not write this here. I will not implement this function here. Rather, I will declare this function as abstract. I will declare this function as abstract, public abstract. I'll say void. What do you mean by abstract? यहाँ पे क्यों error दे रहा है? I'll come to it in a moment. Public abstract void generate credit balance. Because I cannot anticipate, I cannot decide the logic of calculating the credit balance here in this class. I do not want to decide because it is based on what? Whether the customer is export customer or the customer is local customer, or if I go ahead with region wise, whether it's a US customer or a European customer or an Africa or Middle East customer. Based on that, I'm going to write different logic. What am I talking about? Specialization. That means there is some special logic related to US region, special logic related to Africa region, special logic related to Europe region, special logic related to Asia Pacific. Hence, that is specialized logic. I will not write in the general class. This is general class. But I will declare it over here. Why? Because a customer must have this capability when any other client class, which is a client class, a class that invokes a service on the other class. This is the client, this is the supplier. So in my main, I am using customer. So main is the client, customer is the supplier. Here I must be able to invoke on the customer object. I must be able to invoke what? Generate credit balance. I must be able to invoke it. So here the service is available. It is then possible that a service, well, not impossible. I can have a class that is inherited from some other class. And this class has some behavior which is not there in the superclass at all. Fine, but you will very rarely, and you will have a good reason to do that in a very rare scenario. In fact, very difficult for me to find an example. In short, the behavior will always be, if not implemented, at least declared in the general class. This is the declaration of the service, not implementation. Hence, I said abstract. There is no body of the method. I'm putting a semicolon. It's abstract. And why it is giving me an error? The reason being, what if I create an object of this class and invoke this method? Kya execute hoga? There is no body of the method. What will execute? So I cannot say nothing. This is a situation here, right? Because if you say that the method is abstract, it will not have a body, just the declaration of the service. And when you create an object of this class and you try to invoke this method, what will execute? There is a ambiguity over here. What will execute? So it says that, why am I getting this error here? It says, hey, if you have even a single method as abstract method, your class must also be, come on.
Abstract.
Abstract. Sorry. Abstract. Your class must also be abstract. Now here there is no, this is the feature that is extraordinary feature of my IntelliJ IDEA, my IDE. It's saying, hey, आप बोल रहे हो आपने इसको abstract बना दिया, but there are 3 places where you are creating an object of it. Now when this class becomes abstract, you cannot create an object of it. Abstract class है, ये कीवर्ड डाल दो दिमाग में, abstract मतलब उसका ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं बन सकता. You cannot create an object of it. So you see this here, when I go to main, it will give me an error here. See this? It's giving me an error. Why? It says customer is abstract, cannot be instantiated. या नीचे भी कहीं मैंने बनाया है शायद, ये रहा देखो, customer is abstract, it cannot be instantiated. This is correct, this is perfect, because I am thoughtfully doing this ना. मुझे ये specialized behavior रखना है, मैं यहाँ पे decide नहीं करूंगा मैं. What will I do instead? बताओ. What will I do? I'll create a class. I'll say export custom. That will sorry, नाम इसका गलत हो गया. Export customer. Okay, export customer. This is supposed to extend from what? Extends. That means it will be inheriting
Customer class.
customer class. Yes. Now, why is this giving an error?
Because sir customer abstract हो गया है.
कस्टमर एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है, चलो आधा बात आपकी सही है, बट देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम हियर. ये क्यों एरर दे रहा है? The error is here. Export customer class का definition में ही error है. Why? Because in the customer class you have declared a service called abstract, which is abstract. अब ये class बोलता है कि मैं उसको inherit करूंगा, तो it is the responsibility of this class to implement. Note my words. मैंने पहले ही दिन बोला था, I'm very particular about making statements. Here the method is declared, not implemented. Here the method will be implemented, or else I will have to make this also as abstract. या तो मैं इसको भी abstract कर दूं. No errors. But that is not what I wanted. I'm designing classes. My decision. Okay, customer is a class, which is a general class. It will have generalized behavior here, so that I don't have to write it in the subclass again and again. This is generalized behavior. Why generalized behavior? Concept. मेरा concepts clear है कि whenever I have to implement something which is no different from an export customer to local customer to European customer to whatever customer, whatever is the type of the customer, ये behavior same रहेगा. So this will come in which class? General class or specialized class? General class. General class. But if there is some behavior which will have specialized behavior based on the type of the customer, I better put it in the subclass. So मैं यहाँ पे see, I can use a hotkey and I'll say implement methods, and I'll just hit the enter key. Method. No errors here at all. And now what I'm going to write here, will I write the logic over here on how to calculate? क्या if else and if लिखूंगा मैं? Will I be writing if else and if? No. Will I be implementing the logic here of how the credit balance will be generated for local customer? No. This will be only and only for
Export customer.
right. So I'll say, I'll just, so that I don't have to type it again and again. Here you are, export customer. Likewise, I will have yet another class created called local customer. This also extends from customer. Here also I will implement the same method, and here, so local customer extends from customer. Now tell me one thing. Will local customer have ID? Yes or no?
Yes sir.
Yes.
sir.
Will it have name or not? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes sir.
Will it have print details? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes sir.
Yes, but generate credit balance also it will have, but the implementation is here in customer class. It is just the declaration of the service. So here also I'll do this, but then here I'll say local customer. Local customer. Now, if I have other types of customer in future, I have to make changes in the customer class, or I have to add a new code.
Add new code.
And new code. Now this is compliant with what? Open for extension. But closed
Extension.
for
Close to
Modification.
I'll add more code for new types of customer. I will not make changes in the existing code. Now, when I go back here, main, अब एक करना पड़ेगा. I'll have to decide. So instead of setting the customer type here, I don't need to really set the type of the customer now. I'll just simply say new. I'll say export customer. And here I'll say new local customer. Now don't be surprised. You will say, hey, Shakir, you're saying C1 is of type customer, but you are instantiating it to export customer. How come?
Because export customer is inheriting customer.
Yes, correct. Exactly. Exactly. So that's how it is. So देखो ये statement it makes sense ना. चलो if I say you know suppose you go to Morgan Stanley, if we put you in Morgan Stanley on staff augmentation, right? And you start working at Morgan Stanley on contract. There are thousands of people who are on their regular payroll, full-time employees. You are on contract. So they will have a class called employee. And tell me now, will this statement be perfect or not English-wise? Contract employee is a type of an employee. Full-time employee is a type of employee. Yes or no? It makes sense.
Yes, sir.
The type is different. So if I say employee E is equal to, I can either say new contract employee or I can say new full-time employee. So customer, C1 is a customer. It can be export customer, it can be local customer. Makes sense. English-wise also it makes sense. Customer C1 can be export, customer C2 can be local or export. So I say export. So this was very much so English-wise it is okay, but programmatically, of course, this must inherit from. Otherwise, if it doesn't, then this will give me an error here. See what it says? Required type is customer. You're providing export customer, which is not of type customer. So I'll just go back here and I will see compile successful. Likewise, here also I will decide maybe export customer. Here you are. So what I'm going to do here is that I will here take this up over here. And this also I'm going to write here. So एक साथ में यहाँ पर हो गया. Now, this is far better as a solution as compared to. So tomorrow, if I have if I want to further differentiate, suppose, North India, sorry, Java class, I'll say North India customers. Okay, customer. And then I'll say extends what? Customer. Don't you think I'll get all the behavior of the customer class by default? All the behavior?
Yes.
And I will have to implement this generate. Correct? I'll just copy paste this here and I'll say North India customer. See this? So here when I go to my main class, if I say now tell me one thing, friends. If I say C1 dot print customer details and I say C2 dot print customer details, what do you think? Which behavior is getting executed? Generalized behavior or specialized behavior?
Specialized.
Generalized.
Generalized behavior. But when I execute this, tell me C1 dot generate credit balance.
Specialized
Will this be
behavior.
specialized behavior or generalized behavior?
Specialized.
It will execute specialized behavior. Yes. Because now when I control click over here, it takes me here, no doubt about it. But then there is no implementation here. It depends on C1 has been instantiated of what type, export or local. Based on that, it will execute. See for yourself. I'll just run this code once again and see for yourself. Here you are. See credit balance for export and generate credit balance for local. I did not implement this here at all. यहाँ पर वो code है ही नहीं system.out.println. एक काम करता है यहाँ पे I will print. Can I also print the name of the class? Yes, I can always print. I'll say in and I'll say this dot get class dot get name. This will give me the name of the class. Right? And here also I'll do the same thing. I'll go to local customer and I'll say in and I'll say plus this dot get class dot get name. This will give me the name of the class in which this method is executing. Now see this. Can you see this? What is the name of the class? com.im.in.java.model.export customer. And what is the name of the class over here?
Yes.
Isn't it? And when I go to customer class over here, if I do the same thing here, and I'll say plus, and I'll say this dot get class dot get name. ये देखो. Okay, see this? Both are okay. The behavior is actually why? Because the instance of the class that is created is of export and local only, na? But did I implement print details over here? Did I implement print details here? Did I implement print details here? No. So it is picking up the behavior of what? The general class, the super class. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. That's how it is. That's how it is. Perfect. This is perfect. That's how it is. So this is generalization and specialization. Furthermore, अब ये देखो इसको और हम लोग मस्त करेंगे हम लोग. You know, we will add more charm to this. ये देखो. Can I go ahead with some so-called advanced stuff? Yes. Can I?
Yes, sir.
थोड़ा आगे बढ़ेंगे हम लोग इसमें और. ऑल एग्री? ठीक है. थोड़ा और एडिशनल सीखेंगे इसमें.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. This is still not compliant with open close principle because मेरे main class happens to be the client class, customer class happens to be the supplier class. जो भी क्लास जिस पे डिपेंडेंट होगा वो क्लाइंट हो जाएगा, जिस पर डिपेंडेंट है वो सप्लायर हो जाएगा. If you are standing in front of me and if I say, hey, give me that mobile, so I am invoking the service on you, you pick up the mobile and give it to me, so I am the client, you are the supplier. It is not necessary that you supply some data to me, you give me something. I may also say, hey, pass over my message to so and so. I am the client, you're still the supplier. You have executed the service that I have invoked on you. You may pass over the message to someone else. You are not returning anything back to me. So that function was void. Still, I am the client, you're the supplier. Because I invoked the service, you supplied the implementation of that service. So main is the client, customer is the supplier. Why? In the main class, I am invoking the services of customer. अब यहां पे एक प्रॉब्लम क्या है? My client class is aware of the existence of export customer, local customer. It is aware. कल को और 4-5 टाइप के कस्टमर्स होंगे. अच्छा, even before that, you agree that my main class is aware of the existence of this class. बना रहे ना हम लोग न्यू लोकल न्यू एक्सपोर्ट बना रहे ना हम लोग. यहाँ पे इंस्टेंशिएट कर रहे हैं ना हम लोग उस क्लास को. We are instantiating these classes, isn't it? My question to you all is, my dear friends.
Yes, sir.
Pretty simple stuff. Main class is aware of the existence of this class. Yes? Tomorrow,
Yes, sir.
if I add 4 or 5 new subclasses, I will have to come here and make changes to this new. That means my client class will change.
Yes, sir.
And now $1 million point. Here, this is just that we are learning. I am making up things. And hence, I've got just one client class. And the supplier is customer. In real life project, in real life application, I may have n number of client classes dependent on customer. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And in that case, every client class will take a decision which subclass to instantiate. Depending on some condition, it will either create an export customer or a local customer. That means new either export customer or local customer will do that, which is again bad. Why? Because if you add more subclasses over here, each one of those client classes will change wherever you have written new. Yes? Again, there's a problem. So if you want to extend the capability of your software, you are now supposed to support more types of customers. You have no choice but to make changes to many other classes as well, many other client classes now. Now, customer class will not change, of course, but the client classes will change because there you will have to give new class, the new export customer or new local customer, and you will have to decide, you will have to take a decision here. Which one of the two classes to instantiate depending on the type. of the customer. So what you do is that, not my words now. Chalo jitna samajh mein aa jaye theek hai. To whatever extent you understand, fine. Even if you understand 10% of it, trust me, it will add value. Why? Because in future, when you come across these things, as your experience grows, you say, oh yeah, this is what we were talking about. There is something called, there is something called design patterns. I repeat, design patterns. Now, the situation that we are in, that the client class must not anticipate which subclass to instantiate, which concrete class to instantiate. If the client class does not want to anticipate, so that client class is completely dependent only on abstraction. Customer is an abstract class. If you want to ensure that the client class must be dependent on abstraction, not on implementation. That means what? You do not want the client class, the main, to even know about the existence of export customer, local customer, and so on. उसको पता भी नहीं होना चाहिए. It must not even know that there is something called export customer and local customer. Why? Because otherwise my client class will have to change each time I add a new subclass. Each time I have a new type of a customer, this client class will have to change it, will have to adapt it to it. नहीं चलेगा, ये बुरा है. Client class must be dependent on abstraction. That is fine, but must not be dependent on implementation. Why is this? Why am I calling this as an implementation? Because this is a concrete class, provides the implementation of specialized behavior. What will I do? I will introduce yet another class. See, this is what designing is. This is what designing of code is. I'll create a class called customer factory. Factory. What is a factory? Factory is something that produces, that creates. What is customer factory supposed to produce? What it is supposed to create? Create an object of which class?
Customer.
Excellent, excellent. So I'll say public static. And there are different ways in which a factory can be created. I'm giving you a very, very simple way. Objective here is to just explain to you that, see, these are what design patterns are, design principles are, and so on. So I'll say public static, and I'll say it returns a customer, and I'll say create custom. Or else I'll say new customer. And then I'll say string, and I'll say type. Okay, whatever the type of the customer is. Got it? That's what I'll do. And then here I will write once and for all. If type dot equals, okay, I say equals E. Then I say what? Return which customer? Come on, tell me. Export customer. Else I'll say return new. I'll say local customer. Here you go. मैंने factory बना ली. Correct. And now what I'm going to do here is that I will say new. I'll say what? Customer factory. Right? Sorry. Customer factory dot. I'll say new customer. What is it that I'm going to pass as parameter? I'll say E. Here I'll say customer factory dot new customer. Sorry. Customer factory dot new customer. And here I'll say L. And here I'll once again say, here you are. Now what does this mean? Ab dekho. Tell me, look at this solution and tell me. Again, everything will work as expected. Everything will work as expected. Everything was working as expected. But the only thing here is that, see, the way I have structured my classes, the only thing here is that this particular class now, look at this code and tell me. मैं इनफैक्ट यहाँ पे कहीं पे भी आपने एक्सपोर्ट कस्टमर लोकल कस्टमर कहीं पे भी इनहेरिट किया यहाँ पे इंपोर्ट किया है? Have you imported export customer, local customer? Do you think my client classes is aware of the existence of the implementation classes? Yes or no?
No, sir.
So,
It's not aware. So tomorrow, if there is a new type that needs to be added, what is that one single place where I will have a change? Give me the name of
Customer
it.
factory.
Excellent. This is the only place where I will have a change. No change in customer class, no change over in any one of those client classes that is dependent on customer. Simple. As simple as. Don't worry. To whatever extent you have, at least I'm sure that you have started. I'm sure, please confirm this to me, that you have started appreciating writing clean, good code that adheres to the principles of good design. At least you have started appreciating that. Please confirm.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you see this sourcemaking.com itself. Again, you can go and you see this. You will find a lot to learn over here about different design patterns. Can you see this design pattern? See the very first one under creational pattern. Okay, it's not the first one, but then whatever. It's in the order of alphabetical order. That's the reason. But otherwise, factory method. Can you see this? Factory method design part. Define an interface for creating an object, but let subclasses decide which class to instantiate. Factory method let subclass. अब ये क्या है ना? This is a perfect explanation on how the factory design pattern is used. I have used it in a very, very simplest form. They are using and demonstrating this based on, it has been documented in this particular book, Design Patterns, Gang of Four Design Pattern book. So Gang of Four Design Pattern. These are the gang of four, applying James Rumbaugh, Ivor Jacobson, Grady Booch. These are the people who had authored. Craig Larman. Yes, Craig Larman is also one of the guys. Okay, this is from Craig Larman only. Gang of four, here you are. Eric Gama, Richard Hell. Okay, so these are the guys. Eric Gama, Richard Hell, Ralph Johnson, and John Blasides. These are the four guys who had 25 years back, in fact more. 25 years back, कोई अभी नया कोई advanced topic नहीं है. 25 years back when they were working on a programming language called Smalltalk. What was the name of the programming language? Smalltalk was
Smalltalk.
yeah, completely object oriented. They had documented this book. They had authored this book 25 years back. Getting the point, friends? Yes. So factory is a design pattern. There are many design patterns. So it is of utmost importance that you write code that is resilient to changes, that is adaptive to changes, that is flexible to changes. It is impossible that you write some software today which will never ever have a change. It is impossible. Will definitely have a change. If there is no change in the software, if the business is not asking for any change, if your customer is not asking for any change in the software, that means they have stopped using it. Or they themselves might have gone out of business, or they have stopped using it. The only reason may be that. Otherwise, it is impossible that there is no change. Change aata hi rahega. Softwares evolve, isn't it? It evolves. Aaj Facebook, whatever Facebook you use today, it was not the same, even a year back. Change. Okay, now. So the principles applies. Now the name of the principles and the design patterns would be different. If you're working on .NET, then .NET design patterns. If you are working on user experience and user design, UI design, then user experience design patterns. You're working on something like object-oriented programming languages like Java and Python and stuff and all, then, design patterns, Gang of Four design patterns. So you see this UX, UI design patterns. So what is a pattern here? Come on. मैंने आपको पहले भी शायद बीच में बताया था मैंने आपको. User interface भी design patterns. UI design patterns. I believe मैंने आप लोगों को बताया था. See, if I want to reach to, from your LGS, if I want to reach to Bhopal station, and if you give me a particular path, and in the context is 6 o'clock in the evening when there is a lot of rush. We say, okay, Shagir, take a right and then take a left, and then you don't take that, but then take that route, and then go straight, then take a right. So you are giving me a particular, way to go. So now whenever 6 o'clock in the evening, if I have to reach to Bhopal station from LGS, I will always take that route which you have given me. What does that mean? I am following a pattern. I am following a traveling pattern. So solution to recurring problem in traveling is a traveling pattern. Solution to recurring problem in design is a design pattern. Simple. right? So solution to recurring problem in user experience and user interfaces are UX UI design patterns. Solution to recurring problems that arise when you write a .NET applications are .NET design patterns, and so on, right? Solution to recurring problems that you come across when writing J2E applications, so J2E design patterns, and so on. These are the mother of all design patterns. Like, these are object-oriented design patterns for any application that you may want to write using object-oriented concepts. Now, before we wind up for the day, we still have 10 minutes or so. I'll go to Python. Sorry, I'll be here. Now, I want to know how on earth will I do the same thing in Python. देख लेते हैं हम लोग, right? Very important. कोई बड़ी चीज नहीं है. So what I'm going to do here is, see, I'm learning along with you. I'm learning, right? I started working on Python since almost a year now. But ठीक है, रात और दिन I don't write in Python. But if there is any project, I will write it better than anyone who has got 5 years of experience in Python. I'm very confident of that. In fact, I will give him run for his money. All me. So what I'll do is that, I will do this. See, अरे ये क्लाउड बहुत पावरफुल है यार, बहुत सॉलिड बंदा है ये. उसको थोड़ा इधर करेंगे हम लोग, ये करेंगे हम लोग. See, what I'm going to do here is, I will give this एक class drop किया. Oops. दूसरा क्लास ड्रॉप किया, तीसरा क्लास ड्रॉप किया, ये भी ड्रॉप किया, ओके, और ये भी ड्रॉप किया ना. ये नहीं ड्रॉप करूंगा क्योंकि उसके अंदर बहुत सारा कोड है. इट विल unnecessarily write some lot of junk code. Not junk, but I'll say, okay, consider all the classes that I have attached. Okay, give me the solution in Python along with a sample client class that would use a customer factory. Use a customer factory to obtain or to get the customer type object based on. See, that's it. अच्छा, इसका $20 है खर्चा. $20 is what? 1,600 rupees. If I started writing, can you see this? So this is the class customer. Why does it give me ठीक, customer, local customer. अच्छा, so it has inherited customer class from some ABC. Okay, that's not important. That's fine. अच्छा, यहाँ पे this is how you do generic type. See, T is equal to type where T bound is equal to customer. That's how this is the generic. I will talk about generic types in more detail later. देखो, property हो गया ID. Okay, setter name हो गया, ये हो गया. Print customer detail. See, this is how you. Okay, देखा आपने यहाँ पे क्या किया? Hello. What is the decorator? What is the decorator use?
Abstract methods.
Abstract method. Get credit balance. Pass कर दिया उसने यहाँ से. Pass. No implementation. Super. Okay. Now this LT boolean and it has. Okay. What is this? Hello. Wow. Python भी क्या fantastic है. This is that equals to वाला है ये. Less than. LT is less than. So I will be able to use less than or equal to. That is, I will be able to use those operators greater than or equal to in order to find whether one customer is greater than the other customer or not. Equals था ना वहां पे उसने उसका दे दिया. अच्छा, and then export customer, it extends from customer. This is how you will inherit. It is calling the super class and then self.customer type. अच्छा, all the more better implementation. It is saying that the type is equal to E. Then generate credit balance. Now here is the generating credit balance for export customer. Can you see that? Brilliant. Local customer, ये रहा उसका implementation. Customer factory, define new customer static method. I can say customer factory dot new customer. And then customer type is passed as a parameter if it is E, export if it is L. Return local, यहाँ पे new नहीं आएगा यार, there is no need of that new keyword at all. Raise value error, better code, this is called defensive programming. ये है defensive programming. We did not do defensive programming here. See this. This is not defensive. Why? क्या होगा अभी यहाँ पे? What if the type is anything other than E? तो वो लोकल कस्टमर ही ले लेगा ना. अगर L है तो ठीक है, but what is it that I want? E है तो export, L है तो ये. So this is other than E, everything will be local customer. इसने और अच्छे से लिखा है. What is that? This is if it is E export, L है तो local. और अगर इसके अलावा if there is anything other than E and L, then you better throw an error. This is called defensive programming. Hey, you send me anything which is not valid, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to be defensive. This is a classic example. This code is a classic example of what programming? Come on. Defensive.
Defensive program.
Correct. Now you see this client class, it has given me an example of client class, static method, main is the function. And you see this here, new customer, ये रहा हो गया, customer factory dot new customer, ये रहा. And in the customer dot. चलो, मैं ये copy paste करता हूँ इधर. I am going to copy this. And I'm going to go here. I'll go to my models. और models में से मैं सब निकाल के I'm going to put this. And then I will create a factory also there. हाँ, factory भी वही डाला है उसने. Client, I'll say, I'll say file customer underscore client example dot py. I'm going to put this here. Customer factory क्यों error दे रहा है? Import, correct? हो गया. Perfect. Now if I say run this main, here you are, same stuff, my dear friend, same stuff. See, awesome, isn't it? Awesome, isn't it? See here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is that I better, push this also to the server. So I'll say get init, and I'll say get ignore है क्या यहाँ पे? हाँ, get ignore नहीं है. It will give me a get ignore file. Okay, so I'll take this. I'll go here. I say vi dot get ignore. This is same. I'll say get add hyphen all get commit hyphen and initial. This is the first time I'm committing and hence. And then here I'll go to Chrome and I will go to okay, Python. I'll say create. I'll make it public. Say create. And I'll copy this. And I'll copy this. This. Okay, it's pushed. Here you are. Training, within training, here you are. Okay, models and आपके पास code है. I'll give you the. आपके पास उसका तो URL है ना?
Yes, sir.
You have the URL for
Sir,
that.
please share Java code also.
हाँ, किया है ना? I've already shared it. अच्छा, I'll push that. I think I have not pushed that code, so I'll copy all of this. Generalization cover. Okay, this is the commit message of the latest code. आपके पास इसका URL है ना? You have the URL.
Yes, sir.
If not, Okay, I've shared both. Sure. Okay, so this is done, and yes, and make sure that when you're working on our projects, make sure that you all use pull request religiously. Yeah? Pull request वगैरह सब सिखाया ना आप लोगों के नहीं अभी बाकी है. They'll explain that to you. Any doubts, any questions? I'm sorry, I did not give you any time to ask any questions today. So you can very well, tomorrow when we start, you can very well ask questions. Okay? You can ask questions tomorrow. We'll start with question and answer, and then we will continue with other topics.
So
ठीक है, friends?
supplier class and client class. The client class is the customer class and the supplier class is the factory customer. Is it right?
No. So आप ऐसा नहीं customer or this. You take class A and class B. You have two classes in your mind. See which class is invoking a service on the other class. See which class is creating an object of the other class.
Yes, sir.
चलो import जाके देख लो. अगर सेम पैकेज में है तो इंपोर्ट नहीं होगा, but then otherwise see which class is dependent on the other class. So this class is dependent on this, then this is the client, this is the supplier. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Right, friend. So we'll do one thing. Y'all stick around, and I will start a new meeting, and I will share the URL once again on Info Technologies, अपना main group में. And then y'all don't go anywhere. Just wait. We will have a all hands meet today. It's Monday. There are a lot of things to be discussed. It will take at least 20 minutes, max 30 minutes, and then we will then you all can go back to your projects and start working on the projects. Okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
So much.